give you guys a second. You tell me when you're all set.
Everyone ready?
Good to go, Jamie? Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, it's great to be here in West Nipissing and Verner. The people are absolutely incredible. They're so hospitable, and also on the lands of Chief McLeod, First Nations, we're very grateful to their community. They're very hospitable. And to the press gallery, I want to give my condolences and to their family for Yusra. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and I know Yusra held my feet to the fire a few times, and I just want to say our prayers and thoughts are with their family and to the press gallery. My friends, we're really focusing on agriculture. As I said in my speech, that for the first time the agriculture community actually has a seat at the table, and Minister Fideli and Minister Hardeman, they're going on a trade mission over to Korea and over to Japan, really promoting the agriculture sector here in Ontario. It's a massive sector that employs over 800,000 people, and we're very, very grateful for the job they do. Not only do they feed their own families, they feed the whole country, and in some cases parts of the world. So we always will stand behind our agriculture sector and our farmers, and we'll always have their backs. I guess I'll start off with some questions.
Just at the mic, please. One question and follow-up. At the mic.
Hi, Premier. Just a question about the autism file, which your government's been wrestling with.
Mm-hmm.
We've got word that another autism service provider, this one in Northern Ontario, says it can't offer fee-for-service anymore, and it describes itself as a shell of its previous capacity. Is the autism problem being fixed fast enough?
Well, I always wish it could be fixed immediately, but we do have our committee together, and we have a very talented group of people, very diverse group of committee that are putting a proper program together, and I have all the confidence in the world in them and also in Minister Smith, but we'll always do our best to make sure that we take care of people in the autism community. I just want to remind everyone, under the previous administration, they funded it, I think it was $256 million. We're well over $600 million. That's not including education, including health. We're working together, all ministries, to make sure we deliver the best service to the families that we can, and we'll always do that.
And just on another topic, your reception here today,
Yes.
A lot of cheers. There were some boos audible.
Well, I'll tell you that. And I just told Andrew, I'm so disappointed with Andrew Horvath and our team. They're absolutely classless to do that. We would never, ever do that to the NDP. And I had words with her and also with Jill and a couple of members. It was totally uncalled for. This community didn't matter what political stripe you come from. They were very hospitable to us, and it's a shame that the NDP and Andrew Horvath would bring that to this environment. It's absolutely uncalled for. I think everyone knows how much we love the farmers, how much we supported the farmers since we've been in office for the last 14 months, and again, it just came from the NDP, so I'm disappointed with them.
So, Premier, you don't think any of those boos were people in the audience, or just it was all partisan?
Well, my friend, I watched her, and she didn't disagree. A big smile went on her face. So again, let's move on from that. Politics will be politics. I know the support that I have in the farming community is absolutely massive, with a great leadership. Minister Hardeman, we were at the show last week as well, and it's just overwhelming support. The number one comment, and I always tell you folks this, if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times, keep going. Ignore the naysayers. Keep going. You're doing an incredible job, and I know our government's doing a great job saving taxpayers' money, and we have the economy booming with 230,000 new jobs in a year and 4 months, and I can see it. When you're in politics this long, you know when you have the wind to your back, and you know when you have bumps in the road, and there's no doubt. that we've had our little bumps. We ended up getting a tremendous amount of things done. But I have always said I don't believe in polls, right? But you see the polls. The media refuses to report on the good ones. They report on the bad ones. But the truth of the matter is the election was held today. We would win. That's not our polling. That's 3 independent polls. But we're going to continue. I always say, I'll repeat it again, the only poll that counts is on election day. And we're going to continue working hard around the clock for the people of Ontario and make sure we still have a vibrant economy. And we're going to continue working very hard. I'm very grateful for the great team that I have.
Premier, the Toronto Board of Health has asked the province to stop allowing students to skip vaccinations for religious or philosophical reasons. I'm wondering if you support that and will end that practice.
Well, again, I'm leaving that for the Minister of Health, Christine Elliott. She'll be making that decision, and that will be up to the Minister to make that decision.
Hi, Premier.
Hi.
So last week during the first federal leaders debate, your government's handling of the autism file was criticized. I'm wondering, do you think, despite the efforts and the steps your government is taking now, do you think your government's handling of the file is going to have negative consequences for the federal Conservatives?
Well, let me phrase it this way. We're going to continue working extremely hard for the file, which we have. We'd really want some support from the federal government that we've seen absolutely zero support up to now. I'd like to see some funding come from the federal government to support us. Would it hurt the federal Conservatives? Well, let me say this. If the federal Conservatives have our numbers that we have today, right now, there's an extremely good chance Andrew Scheer will be the Prime Minister.
And just to follow up on that, your government has talked about a national autism strategy. Would you like to see all of the federal parties commit to commit to having that on their platform to form one?
Absolutely, and we actually brought it up at COF when we were in Saskatchewan. I really want to lead the charge in making sure that we have proper funding to support families with children with autism. So I'll be working hard. No matter what party gets elected federally, we'll be working very hard and making sure that we have the proper support for these families.
Premier, thank you for those remarks on USERO. The gallery appreciates that very much.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask, change of pace from some of the other questions, going back to the gas stickers. You had a label company.
I know.
Spent
Do
your
you
whole life
believe that? It's like the shoemaker's daughter not getting shoes. They have to pull me off the ceiling when I hear the stickers are coming off. They didn't use Deco labels, that's why. But no, all joking aside, things like that happen. We'll make sure we get the proper stickers made. But hey, I agree 100%.
Okay, are you getting, is it the same company that's going to
I got to talk to Minister Rickford, but again, that company messed up, and we're going to get it fixed.
Was it the wrong order that was put in?
No, I heard the
indoor
specs. I know.
stickers or
No. I saw the specs outdoor and laminated and so on and so forth. Never happened. So, anyways, we'll get it fixed.
Okay.
If I was allowed to donate them, I would, believe me, but I'm not allowed to.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Premier Ford. I was just wondering, how come you're not campaigning with Conservative leader Andrew Scheer? Do you plan to during the campaign?
Well, I always say I'm busy governing with our team. I'm not out there campaigning. We need to focus on governing and fixing the problems that we inherited from the previous government, which we're doing, and we've come a long way in a year and 4 months, making some real positive changes on the economy, on reducing our deficit and paying down our debt a little bit. And I give credit to our whole team, but I give credit to the gentleman right beside me, because he was blazing the new trail when he first went in there, and now he has an opportunity. The best salesperson in our entire team is Minister Vic Fideli, and he's doing an incredible job. But I'm very fortunate to have a team as diversified as we do, with the experience we have, and Minister Hardeman, they love them. Everywhere I go, the agriculture sector loves them. And what more can I say about Minister Lecce? All-star? That's an understatement. He's incredible, absolutely incredible, the job he's doing on education. And I hear that everywhere we go about our whole team, but especially Minister Lecce, how he's handling it, this file. And I just want to, again, thank you for your incredible work, Stephen.
But speaking of your team, has anyone from your team contacted the Shears campaign, or anybody from Shears campaign contacted you to do any campaigning together?
No, I can't say they have, but I don't control every member throughout the province. What's amazing about the provincial PC, at least our party this time, we attracted traditional NDP voters, traditional Liberal voters, and traditional fiscal conservatives, and that's what you have to do. And that's the way my brother got elected. That's the way I ended up getting elected, along with our whole team. We look after the people, and we're a government for the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. The polls, consistently, the polls are showing that federally it's an elected race.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on why it's an elected race?
Well, I think, Jamie, I think it's a really interesting, well-fought campaign out there, and the people of Canada are going to have to decide which way they want to go. But no matter what government gets elected, and it doesn't matter who it is, we're going to work well with them. And to be very frank, we worked well so far with the Liberal government. Moving forward, we'll work well with the Liberals moving forward, or the Conservative government. And we're there focusing on Ontario, and we'll make sure that we work with them, for instance, on infrastructure projects. We have over 350 infrastructure projects that we sent up to the federal government. They've approved 70 of them, and obviously they had to put it on hold until after the election. But we've done some really great work with the federal government.
And Cynthia's been said that Shears been in your riding, and in ridings and close to you, and you haven't been there. Is that
Well, I'm just keeping my word. I'm busy governing, and it's a full-time job. I always joke around, Jamie. They're working me like a rented mule on this whole summer, and honestly, I just haven't had time, and I just don't. Yeah, but I don't want to interfere in the federal election. I want them to go out there and have a good race and let the best party win.
and back to if QP goes on strike, you retain back your decision?
Well, I don't want to address that. It's I want to work with them. I want to make sure that we have a deal. Again, I have all the confidence in the world in Minister Lecce, how he's been handling it, and he's working hard. At the end of the day, it's absolutely critical that we get a fair deal, not only for QP, but for the taxpayers, and most importantly for the students. The students are number one over anything, and we want to make sure that they're in the classroom. Well, I have no comment on that. I have all the confidence in Minister Lecce to get a deal done.
Good afternoon, Premier. My question is about rural broadband. The federal Liberals have promised to spend billions to connect every Canadian by 2030, but many in the industry in Northern Ontario don't even think that would cover our region in that time. So how committed is your government to doing this, and how much is that realistically going to cost?
Well, we've proved it already. We've put broadband in rural areas throughout Ontario. We're going to continue doing that. It's critical that we connect people to the rest of the world, especially the farming community that becomes so high tech. And I think the people in the big cities take it for granted that they go into the groceries and they pick up their tomatoes or any fruit or vegetables, not realizing what work goes into making sure that gets on the shelf. And we're going to continue working with the rural communities, make sure we have broadband. Another big issue is natural gas as well. So we'll be working with both of them. And ministers, do you want any comments on that?
Well, I would say that I think we've made huge input into broadband, and as the Premier said, and natural gas already. Major announcements throughout rural Ontario, more announcements in the north as well. So we're very pleased that we are focusing so much attention, as the Premier said in his speech and as Minister Hardeman acknowledged as well, so much attention towards broadband initiatives in rural and northern Ontario particularly.
And follow up to that, the opposition feels that broadband internet should be seen as a public service and the private sector should maybe be out of it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I always believe that it's critical we get the private sector involved. I'm not big on big government. Big government just wastes a lot of money. I think the private sector could do a much better job, and we'll be working with the private sector to make sure that we have broadband moving forward in as many areas as possible.
Clark Heipel here from Cogeco News, based out of North Bay. Question for the Premier. Thanks for taking my question.
Thank you.
I was speaking with Minister Rickford at the education announcement earlier this morning. Asked him about the Ring of Fire. He says development is imminent, perhaps shovels in the ground this winter. And you famously said that you'd go on a bulldozer yourself to develop it. So how close are we to seeing the development of the Ring of Fire, being that we're at an agricultural fair, getting the resources out of the ground? That's what the Ring of Fire is all about.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical for our administration, and no one knows that file better than Minister Rickford. And as I said during the election, I'm going to keep that promise. You're going to see me on that bulldozer as soon as we can get going, but it's one of the highest priorities, not only for our government, but I think for the province of Ontario.
As a follow-up, he mentioned that the rural road through Northern Ontario is the way to go. Will Ontario Northland Rail be involved at all?
Well, again, I'm going to have to defer that over to the minister, and he'll be able to address that. But thank you so much, everyone.
To the competition.
Do you want to, Minister? Go ahead.